In the heart of Rwanda, a young girl named Emily lived near the edge of a vast jungle. Her father was a wildlife researcher, and their home was tucked just outside a gorilla conservation zone. Emily didn't have the toys or gadgets most kids had. Instead, she found wonder in the sounds of the forest, the movement of the trees, and the rhythm of the wild. Every day after her lessons, she would wander close to the camp's fences, curious about the creatures her father studied. One morning, she followed him to the rehabilitation enclosure. That's when she saw him, a young gorilla, barely 2 years old, crouched alone in a corner. His name was Kumba. He had been rescued after poachers attacked his troop. He was frightened, withdrawn, and barely moved. But something about him drew Emily in. She returned the next day, standing silently by the fence, just watching. Day by day, she came back. She brought pieces of mango, sang softly under her breath, and sat near the enclosure for hours. Slowly, Kumba began to notice her. First with a glance, then a step, then a small grunt that made Emily smile. One day, he reached out, his hand brushing against the fence where hers rested. From that moment, something unspoken connected them. She named him her jungle friend. He called her with soft sounds and wide, curious eyes. They began learning signs together, simple ones her father taught her for fun. Friend, happy, food. But one sign became their favorite. Safe. Kumba always signed it when he saw her. Emily and Kumba spent months growing together. They would play, mimic each other, and share moments that no one else seemed to understand. Their friendship became the heart of Emily's world. Then one afternoon, Emily heard the voices of the researchers. Kumba was going to be transferred to a larger rehabilitation center, far away in another region. It was necessary, they said, for his future. Emily begged them to wait, but the decision was made. She ran to Kumba's enclosure, pressed her hands to the fence, and whispered through tears, "Don't go." Kumba looked at her and signed one last time. Safe. The next morning, Kumba was gone. Emily stood at the edge of the clearing, her locket clenched in her fist, watching the empty space where her best friend used to be. She didn't know when, or if, she'd ever see him again. Days turned into months, and months into years. Emily grew taller, her laughter softer, but her heart never forgot the gentle gorilla named Kumba. The forest around her home seemed quieter without his playful grunts and curious eyes watching her from the shadows. She carried his memory like a secret treasure, a bond unbroken by distance or time. Far away, in a sanctuary surrounded by towering trees and wire fences, Kumba had grown into a strong silverback. Yet despite the care and safety the scientists provided, he seemed restless. The once bright spark in his eyes sometimes dimmed, and his powerful frame often paced the enclosure. He would sit for hours, staring beyond the fences as if searching for something or someone. Every night, when the moon cast silver shadows on the forest floor, Kumba would close his eyes and remember Emily's gentle touch, the sound of her voice, and the word they both shared. Safe. Those memories stirred something deep inside him, a longing to reunite with the friend who had been taken away. Emily's life moved on too. She left the small village to attend school in the city, but the image of Kumba never left her mind. She kept a locket close to her heart, a small token with his picture inside. Whenever she felt lonely or lost, she would hold it tight and whisper his name, hoping somehow he could hear her. Meanwhile, Kumba's longing grew stronger. The sanctuary was meant to be his new home, but it felt like a cage without Emily. He tested the boundaries, learning to open locks and find weak spots in the fence. Each time he escaped, he would head in the same direction, north, guided by a memory, a scent, or a hope. The keepers grew worried. They called him a troublemaker, a danger, but no one understood what drove Kumba to run again and again. Deep down, it was more than fear or frustration. It was love, a love that refused to let go. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Emily sat by her window watching the news. Reports showed a large gorilla roaming near the edge of the forest, evading capture. Her heart skipped a beat. She studied the grainy photos, and tears welled up in her eyes. She knew. It was Kumba. Without hesitation, Emily packed her bag. The years apart vanished in an instant, replaced by a burning hope. She was going to find her gorilla friend, no matter what it took. One stormy night, under the cover of howling winds and pouring rain, Kumba made his move. With a strength born from years of longing and determination, he broke through the weakest part of his enclosure. The metal bent and cracked as he slipped out into the wild, free once again. Kumba didn't hesitate. He moved swiftly and quietly, guided by instinct and the faint memories of his childhood friend. Through dense forests, across rushing rivers, and over rugged hills, he journeyed northward. Every step brought him closer to the place where he once felt safe and loved. Along the way, Kumba faced countless dangers, hunters searching for a prize, rangers trying to capture him, but his intelligence and courage kept him one step ahead. He learned to hide in the shadows, to move silently beneath the canopy, and to trust only the whispers of the forest. Meanwhile, news of the escaped gorilla spread quickly. Officials issued warnings, setting up roadblocks and sending out teams to find him. The world watched in suspense. Would this giant, misunderstood creature be caught or lost forever? Far away in the city, Emily couldn't tear her eyes away from the news. She saw the photos, the videos, the headlines calling him a rogue gorilla. But she knew better. She felt the same hope that had guided Kumba for years, that they were meant to be reunited. Determined, Emily traveled to the last place Kumba had been seen. She moved through villages, forests, and hills, following the trail only someone who truly knew him could read. Her heart pounded with every step, the memory of their shared past pushing her forward. As she neared a small remote village, the tension grew. Guards and officials stood ready, armed with tranquilizer guns. They saw Kumba as a threat, a wild animal to be contained. But Emily saw something else, a friend, a brother, the one who had never forgotten her. And then, from the edge of the forest, Kumba appeared. His massive frame stepped into the clearing, eyes scanning the crowd until they locked onto Emily's. Time seemed to stop. The guards raised their weapons. The crowd held their breath. Emily took a step forward, her voice calm but steady. "It's me, Kumba." Kumba responded with a gentle sign, the word they had shared all those years ago. Safe. In that moment, everything changed. The tension melted away, replaced by an unspoken understanding between human and gorilla. The world watched in awe as the two old friends reunited after years apart, proving that the strongest bonds don't break, no matter the distance or time. Emily's heart pounded as she stepped closer to Kumba, the massive silverback towering before her. The crowd around them fell silent, watching with wide eyes as the girl and the gorilla shared a moment that words could never capture. Kumba's dark eyes softened as he recognized her, his friend, his family. The guards hesitated, unsure whether to act. Their guns were still raised, but something in Emily's calm voice and Kumba's gentle gestures made them pause. Emily reached out her hand slowly, speaking softly. "It's okay, Kumba. I'm here." Kumba lowered his massive frame and slowly signed the word they had shared for years. Safe. The word carried the weight of all their memories, their friendship, and the hope they had both held on to during their years apart. Tears streamed down Emily's face as she reached through the gap in the crowd, her fingers brushing the thick fur of Kumba's arm. The moment was raw and powerful. Two souls reunited against all odds. The guards slowly lowered their weapons, realizing this was no threat, but a miracle. The villagers who had gathered around whispered in amazement, some wiping tears from their own eyes. Emily wrapped her arms around Kumba's strong neck, feeling the steady beat of his heart, and knowing this was home again. As the sun dipped low, painting the sky in warm hues, Emily spoke softly. "We'll never be apart again." Kumba grunted softly in agreement, their bond stronger than ever. This reunion wasn't just about two friends finding each other. It was a symbol of hope, love, and the unbreakable connection between humans and nature. Together, they stood as a reminder that sometimes the most incredible stories are those written without words. And in that quiet moment, surrounded by the jungle and the people who had witnessed it all, Emily and Kumba began a new chapter, one filled with healing, understanding, and the promise of a future shared side by side. After their emotional reunion, Emily and Kumba became inseparable once again. But this time, things were different. The world had witnessed their bond, and people were inspired by their story of friendship and resilience. A new sanctuary was built closer to Emily's home, designed to give Kumba the freedom he longed for while keeping him safe. Emily dedicated her life to protecting animals like Kumba. She studied animal behavior, worked with conservationists, and traveled to raise awareness about the dangers facing gorillas and their habitats. Together, they became ambassadors for the wild, reminding everyone that every creature deserves love and respect. Kumba thrived in the new sanctuary, roaming among the trees and playing with others, but he always returned to Emily's side. Their unique friendship showed that trust and compassion can cross species, and even time. In quiet moments, Emily would sit beneath the canopy, holding the locket with Kumba's picture close to her heart. She would smile and whisper, "You taught me what it means to love without words." And Kumba would respond with a gentle grunt, a soft sign, the language only they shared. Their story didn't end with their reunion. It was just the beginning of a lifetime together, reminding us all that sometimes the strongest bonds are those forged through kindness and hope. And though the jungle held many secrets, Emily and Kumba's tale remained the most unforgettable. Proof that true friendship knows no boundaries, no matter how wild the world may be.